my gosh, this is so cool. I mean, it just keeps going.
I mean, that was 5,000.
Wow.
I could go to 8.
Barney, what's up, man?
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Things well?
What have you brought me?
1972 Lamborghini Miura SV. Probably the reference example for all SVs here.
Oof, absolutely. What's the color?
Blue Tahiti, one of 2 SVs only in this color. Pretty unique car, blue with the gold, kind of iconic, you know, immediately identifiable as an SV, you know, by a variety of different things, but this car we'll talk about is the reference example of them all.
This is Barney Ruprecht. He's the co-founder of Broad Arrow Group, and while obviously doing super high-end auctions like Amelia Island and Pebble Beach, etc., they also do private sales like this Miura. He recently sold this car to a client, and my job is to prepare it for its final resting spot on display in that client's home. Now, I've known Barney a really long time, and he just has a knack for finding every unobtainium car in the world. Just check out their private sales page. They have incredibly heavy cars on there. I'll put a link in the description so you can read more about the cars they've sold. But what makes this one extra special is that it's actually the display car from the 1972 Geneva Motor Show. Truly a piece of automotive history, and why I'm so excited about this project.
All right, so give me some points here.
So starting from the very top, so to speak, you know, any SV is always, you know, known by the lack of the eyelashes here.
Yeah.
You know, the early cars, the P400s and the S's all had eyelashes. On the SV, reprofiled shape. Early cars also had a non-chrome windshield surround. Later cars on S's and SVs had the chrome. Also, the wheel arches back here, flared, wider track on the SVs. But what makes an SV special is what's under the hood, so to speak, or the rear clam. You know, almost 400 horsepower in something built in 1972.
Crazy.
I drove it here from our office a little bit further away. It is terrifying in a good way.
I can't believe you drove it. That's so cool.
Yeah, well, I brought it to you to clean, so you know, let's kill some bugs.
Yeah.
So if we come around, just lift up straight, and then, you know, this is the heart of,
I got goosebumps.
you know, the Lamborghini soul, so to speak. Transverse mounted V12, so immediately you notice the motor's not like this, but it's like that.
Sure.
These cars for years, and what makes this one special, have a weird quirk with the gearbox design. For many years, all through production, they shared an oil reserve. So it has a split sump, it's called, so different oil for gearbox and motor.
Which is pretty logical.
Which is logical.
Now I see the engine number. Is that the engine number right there?
Engine number down there in the middle there.
Yeah.
This is one of only probably 2 cars I've ever had through my hands of the 20 Miuras I've had over the years that has every single body number everywhere. This car is so unique, single ownership, if you can believe it, until 2011. So the air conditioning, you know, it works, but it doesn't really work. You know, we always say it's kind of like a mouse is blowing on you through the dash. Like, there's something that happens, but you do not want to be in this car when it's more than 60 degrees out. It'll get hot inside.
My favorite part is that only the passenger can control the air conditioning.
Yes. It didn't work when it was new. It's not going to work when it's, you know, 60 plus years old.
Yeah.
So it's better to have it for value and, you know, checking the box of having everything. So these knockoffs on the car, with the 3-ear spinners are technically not correct for this car because German cars should have a single wheel nut because they view these as dangerous to pedestrians, if you can believe it.
That's crazy.
As if that's gonna somehow be your problem.
The Mad Max Miura, I call it, right?
And then in the front here, if we look, the slats here, it's a good angle. They have to be, by regulation, thicker than what was normal for pedestrian impact, as if this is going to be your problem going down the road that's going to impale somebody. So those are profiled to be thicker to not hurt anybody.
It's like an 1/8 of an inch thicker. I don't understand. That's crazy.
You know, the Germans have their own way of doing things, so you know, we'll leave it at that. But this really is the best of best type of Miura. European delivery, German at that. Final 150 production, split sump, AC, one of 2 in this color, Blue Tahiti, recently sold, you know, known ownership from new, every piece original. So, you know, I drove it here as one final goodbye before we install it, but you know, I want you to clean it up and make sure it looks its best.
Well, this is the pure definition of a preservation detail. So I got my work cut out for me. You're the man.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. This is awesome.
When it comes to drying a car properly, chamois and squeegees often are the causes of fine scratches. Instead, use a damp microfiber towel with a lubricant to add a buffer between the towel and the paint. The viscosity of the drying lubricant is a bit thicker to leave behind protection during the wipe as well, so keep that in mind. This process is the safest way to avoid fine scratches, what I call love marks on delicate paint.
Now, because this car is so valuable, you're gonna notice I'm not using compressed air. Normally I do that on pretty much every single car. We don't need any problems here. If I were to use air and just catch one of these little seams and it blows up here, we obviously can't replace something this valuable. So in this case, when it's really rare, really expensive, avoid compressed air. One of my favorite parts, and probably everybody's favorite part of a Miura, is both the clamshell in the front and the rear. Now, what's super cool inside here is everything is exposed. You can see it. It's a car guy's dream, but at the same time, you can't necessarily power wash it. You have to be really, really careful. So in this case, we're gonna be using frothy. This is literally what it's designed for. We're gonna fill up all these areas here. Then I can go back in and gently wipe with a microfiber towel and just take my time. So this is gonna be even more time consuming than actually polishing the car. All these little intricacies. And the idea is, he just told me, look at all this dirt and rocks in here. So Barney said, hey, that's a real big issue there. So we're gonna have to go in and do all the nooks and crannies, but not with a power washer.
What makes projects like the Miura so interesting from a detailing perspective is that you have to change your mindset from perfection to preservation. So it's kind of like a different mode that rewards the less is more mentality, and it's definitely not inherent or common nature in most detailers, including myself. So instead of just power washing like I normally would, I'm using Frothy, which is a rinseless lubricant used to wash paint without hose water in winter, drought areas, apartment owners, motorcycles, and so on. But it's perfect in this particular situation, meaning a delicate clamshell area that does need to be cleaned, but at the same time, I can't power wash it because it's incredibly delicate.
All right, when we're working on really old, vintage, very expensive cars, the paint is always pretty tricky, but the interior is 10 times more complicated. Here's why. Most people look at this and they say, oh wow, it's really dirty. We're gonna need to scrub this down and make it pop again. Okay, it does look like it's dirty, but that's not actually dirt. What that is just normal wear and tear and sort of degrading over decades of in use, sitting out in the sun, etc. So if I were to go in here, spray it down, and then take something very rough and scrub it, you're gonna see that dirtiness become bigger and bigger and bigger. And what's actually happening is you're removing the dye in the process of cleaning it. So when I'm working on super vintage cars like this, very expensive, a few light squirts of lather on a towel, very gently. It's almost like archaeology. I'm going like this and I'm looking at the towel. Did any of the dye come off? Nope, looks good. I'll wipe it down and it's good to go. Now, if you feel more confident that you can actually get a few spots out here and there, then you can lightly go in with the brush, tickle it a little bit, come back and wipe it off immediately. So if you notice right here, there is a definite blemish here. Now, one of the biggest issues detailers have is we want to go in, we want to fix things, we want to clean things, we want to make things better, but sometimes you just can't do that without jeopardizing the integrity of the material you're working on, whether it's clear coat, whether it's interior pieces and trim, etc. You can see right here, I really want to get that. That looks not so great, but if I go after that, we're going to remove all the dye. Why? Because you can already start to, listen to this. That means we've cleaned it pretty much as far as I feel comfortable going, because it's a little on the tacky side. Why? Because I just wiped it. It's a little, there's a little bit of moisture in there and we're just cleaning up. But if I go any further than that, you're going to start lightening up that green, or it looks like a green little line there, but you're also going to lighten up everything around it at the same time. So this is the part where you say, enough is enough. When is when, right now. We can't go any further, so we're going to leave that alone. This is the definition of preservation. You just got to hold yourself back and say, that's as good as I can make it without jeopardizing the rest of this material here. Now, the interesting thing is you can actually see there's wood screws. I'm guessing this is wood. That is incredible. So there's a wood screw there, and I checked on the other side. There's a wood screw on the other side. These old cars are just unbelievable. Oh, still good. As weird as it sounds, one of my favorite features of the Miura is the fact that there is a headrest sitting against the glass. So your head is resting against a bunch of carbs. How cool is that? Every Miura I've ever done, I wasn't even allowed to wipe it down because you could see it just disintegrating. So of all the years and all the Miuras I've done, probably done 4 or 5 of them, which is a lot. This is the best condition one I've ever done. Look at that. Nothing's come off, which is really good. Right here is gonna start to go. Right here would start to go. Right there is a spot, and right here, which is somebody's hip. That spot right now, if I was aggressive, it'd be gone. So as crazy as that sounds, that's all I'm going to be doing to it. What I'll end up doing after everything is completely dry is I'll go back in and re-moisturize it. That's fine. But in terms of aggressive behavior with pH levels that aren't exactly neutral in terms of the cleaning aspect, yeah, we want to return this back to neutral, let it sit, and then moisturize the heck out of it so it has a little bit more elasticity and can last a little bit longer. Oof, boy. Even though I'm doing less, this is 10 times harder than doing a dirty car. Steering wheels are notorious for being very, very dirty, so this is where we can get into trouble. So I bet you as soon as I take this towel off, there it is. So most people think that the steering wheel and the dirt from the hands and getting in and out, that kind of thing, that's what you're seeing. That's not, that's the dye coming off here. So most people go, wow, that's really dirty. Let me reapply, go in with something that's even stronger to get all that dirt off. And you think, hey, I'm doing good for the steering wheel. In fact, you're not. All right, so this part right here is pretty neat. You pull the pin out and you pull this handle up, and this handle opens up the rear clamshell. Very cool, but clearly, it's been opened and closed 1,000 times, and there's fingerprints and smudges and a little bit of scratches here. So we're gonna use metal polish here on these pieces, and believe it or not, there's a bunch of metal trim everywhere, even in the door frame here. So we have a bit of metal work to do, or what we call bright work, and then we're gonna go in, vacuum everything, and close it up. Notice we didn't do a whole ton on the interior, and that is a good idea. The last step we're gonna do is put some moisturizer on it, and then we'll focus on the paint.
Think of this detail like spending hours trying to painstakingly move one rare artifact from an archaeological dig versus my disaster details where I'm basically napalming and ripping the car apart just to clean it. Each have their own purpose, but changing my mindset from one to the other is what keeps me on my toes and avoids becoming too comfortable with any project. My mentors always taught me, if you're comfortable, you're not pushing hard enough and you're probably not learning anything in the process.
Okay, I just did a test spot with a foam pad and foam polish, and you can see, look at that, single stage paint. Very normal with this age vehicle. So I spoke to Barney and he said that this isn't the original paint because I'm getting crazy readings right now of almost anywhere from 22 to 30 mils. So what that means is this has been painted at some point in his life, and that's okay. But what he also said was this was painted probably 30 years ago, so it's still not necessarily new. And they painted it with nitrocellulose, which is a very volatile, lots of solvents in there. So when they lay it down, it flashes really quick. And we obviously can't do that now. We have to use water-based paints and things for the ozone and safety, so on and so forth. So this is single stage, incredibly soft after my test spot. What that means from a detailing perspective is this is gonna be like nice, buttery, smooth when I'm done, and it's really, really easy to work with. So I get excited about that. The second thing is when you're working with something that has lots of solvents and is older and is a little bit tricky, and there's certainly lots of it, you definitely have to wear a mask because I'm gonna have to blow this out a whole lot because a lot of residue is coming off because it's very soft, because it's been painted the way that it has. So you'll back, all these things that go on right now, and I'll go, okay, cool. So you have have to wear your mask because you don't want to breathe that in. But at the end of the day, this is going to look so good. But I noticed over here, there's a spot that's very light. There's a lot of trickiness. So we're also going to do the same sort of preservation kind of mindset we did on the inside. We're going to work on the outside. But when we're done, this thing's going to be so crazy shiny. I'm so pumped.
Single stage paint is just the best paint to polish. When you're done, it looks so good.
Now that the paint has been rejuvenated, I wanted to add some insane depth and shine while really enjoying the waxing process. And because of that, these are my latest babies: Creme for the paint, Conceal for paint protection film, and Gelée for the wheels. Now, years ago, one of my good buddies once told me that waxing his car in his garage is like a sabbatical from his brain. Now, at the time, I thought he was crazy, but looking back, I wholeheartedly agree. Needless to say, I took my sweet time waxing the paint and the wheels on what I believe is the most beautiful car in the world. And I have to agree, waxing your car is incredibly therapeutic.
Ooh, he's here. Barney,
Hey, what's going on?
Good to see you. Come
Nice
on
to
in.
see you.
Check her out.
Wow, that's like night and day to what I remember.
It is so cool.
I mean, it looks wet almost, and like the wheels look great. You know, you even touched The sills up down here, that looks awesome. I was concerned on the wheels, being magnesium and porous, you know, you're never sure how, you know, shine they'll be.
Yeah, this came back really well. The paint, I feel like you can dive into it now. The before and after was huge.
It's night and day.
Yes, this is a little on the tricky side, but you can see much better.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the hardest part was the interior. So if you look at the interior, multiple, you know, different types of material, but very, very sensitive. So the armrest here and the where you put your shoulder, if you have your hand out the window, that kind of thing, is full of grease. So I cleaned that up, but I didn't want to remove the dye in the process. So we managed to be able to do that and keep everything in the same sort of preserved condition.
I think you absolutely nailed it. You know, as one of the top 3 or 4 reference examples in the world for originality of interior. I was concerned about how it would look, but I'm blown away.
Awesome. So check out the engine.
That's where everything happens. Wow.
Yeah. So the idea here was, again, to preserve it. I didn't want to make it too shiny or polished too much. I wanted to make it the way that it came out of the factory. That's the goal here. You can see there was just, you can actually look through it and see the floor. There's rocks everywhere. So there was rocks here. I'll show you up front. There was rocks absolutely everywhere, but the suspension, beautiful. The carburetors look fantastic, and everything kind of has this beautiful finish, but not too bright. That's what I didn't want to get into, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly, you know, what we were after. It looks the part for being a sculpture. It's clean, everything's as it should be. You know, this looks great. Even the inside of the V, I'm sure you cut your hand in there because I did the same thing.
I did. I can't believe you just said that. Yeah, I got the same one here. I caught it up front though. But yeah, this car is...
That's why on the German cars, remember those front slats being thicker? I guess they had a point.
Yeah, I definitely bled for this car for sure. Let me show you up front. Same thing, way cleaner, but you'll notice here, the front deck, crazy amount of rocks and dirt and just, I mean, I guess that's normal driving debris or whatever, but that was a bit of a chore. I used frothy in there, which is high lubrication, because last thing I want to do is scratch even the under tray here. Yeah. You can see down all in the wheels. I cleaned all underneath here, all there, and you can see it just brought back a lot of the depth and the original shine, but I didn't want to make it bling bling. That's not the goal here.
I remember being concerned when I first got this car, being really disappointed in my seller because it was covered in rocks. There was a pool of gravel in all the corners, and I'm glad to see you got all of it out.
You can see it's all over my floor right now.
Yeah, I mean, there literally is a puddle of gravel. That's only what didn't get washed away.
Yeah, exactly. What's the owner going to do with it?
It's largely viewed as a piece of sculpture, so it'll be on largely static display.
All right, so if he's not going to drive it, which is completely insane, what are the chances that we can take it for its very last drive?
My afternoon is free. Let's do it.
Oh man, this is huge. Thank you. All right, now we're going to go for a ride in the Miura. This is going to be crazy. Don't make a mess in my car. Success.
Just like that, she's alive.
Two very big men in a small car.
Yeah, this is not exactly designed for size 13 shoes.
No. Wow. This is already cool. With the leaves coming down and everything.
It's a good day to go driving.
It is. And so is the story that there was a bunch of 25-year-olds, right? From what I understood?
I believe so. You know, it was kind of like an after-hours project.
Right,
you know, they wanted to do something that was totally different. You know, Lamborghini had the 400 GT, and then Ferruccio said they want to really compete on the sports car scene. And then this thing debuted in the late 60s, and it was, you know, overnight, totally different to anything that had ever been seen before.
Was it well received at the time?
Yeah, I mean, it stopped all the automotive press in their tracks at the auto shows. I mean, even going down the street today, like, we're getting looks, you know, from people on the sidewalk and whatever. Like, you don't expect to see something that looks like this driving, you know, back then, let alone today.
Can you imagine then? It's probably like a spaceship at that point. I mean, right now, modern times, almost 2025, and people are like freaking out.
It's crazy.
In the 60s and 70s, or, you know, whenever, they probably were speechless, like an alien driving down the street. It's just incredible the way it's This is my favorite part, the fact that I can see everything that you're doing behind us.
Yeah, you get the throttle linkage and everything, your carburetors. This thing was just serviced, so it's on the button, but they are notorious for having some leaky carburetors back there,
Yeah.
and that's how you know, some of the cars unfortunately met their demise with
fire.
With fire.
Really?
Yeah. So we got an extinguisher right underneath your feet, but we're not going to need it. I mean, this is really the seminal moment of, you know, modern sports car design. Like, this is by far and away the first supercar. This is, you know, the crown jewel of car design, in my opinion.
Isn't it sort of like the blueprint for everybody else going forward?
Definitely.
You know what I mean? The mid-engine.
Mid-engine, yeah. This
The way that looks
architecture.
here, just looking out right now, is just like crazy. Where all the gauges are on this up here.
V12.
V12.
You know, 5-speed gearbox, not a 4-speed. You know, disc brakes. You know, this really is the, you know, the ultimate form of what, you know, a sports car and supercar should be.
This is awesome. We're going on the highway. You got the leaves going. I think we should hold hands.
We've got water temp, we've got oil temp, so, you know, we'll see what she can do with, you know, a lot of power behind the right foot.
This is crazy. And the sound is great. Wow. That is incredible. This is so cool.
And you can actually, like, see out of it. It's not totally uncomfortable. The next version of the Countach is not a very comfortable thing to drive, but this somewhat works almost.
Yeah. That lady gave us a smile and a thumbs up. That's awesome. You know, the fact that you and I get to drive amazing cars all the time, you know, sometimes it's lost in the shuffle, right? But I'm really starting to measure now as I get older, cars that make me smile.
Yeah.
Like my Model T, not that expensive, but it just makes me smile. I don't know why. This car, obviously, very expensive, very rare, whatever, but I'm just giggling the whole time I'm driving this. It's just such a joy. This is so cool.
Yeah, I haven't stopped smiling.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I love this stuff, man. Power, wow. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I mean, it just keeps going.
I mean, that was 5,000.
Wow.
I could go to 8, but, you know, she's an old girl, and I don't want to spin it too much.
Yeah. You can really feel that it wants to be cleaned out right now. At least that's what I tell the cop. I'm like, listen, officer, listen to this car needs to be cleaned out. I don't know what to tell you.
The old Italian tune-up, as
Yeah,
they say.
yeah. Oh, what a treat.